What's for Breakfast? The Passage of Time and Eggs by Boyd Campbell.
For much of my life, if my father was in Mississippi, we met at 6 a.m. for breakfast on Saturdays. Lafleur was his standard, but one of two primos was an acceptable substitute, as was Mayflower with Mr. Mike. His order never changed. Mine often did. Whatever primos was working, the counter recommended a baked good, fresh, and hot. Usually, we would meet my grandfather at 6:30 to open the mail, so no breakfast until after. On Saturdays, showing up at 6:45 was allowable because life is short, although Dennis, who collected the mail from the federal courthouse/post office, might make a face. While my grandfather was certainly invited, he preferred his regular morning ritual. While he shaved and did light calisthenics for 15 minutes, his loving spouse, wearing a quilted housecoat from jawline to ankle, prepared his breakfast. 1 egg over easy, so the yolk was still pretty runny, 2 pieces of white toast from a cathedral-style Art Deco toaster with Irish butter, a small piece of fried ham or 2 pieces of thick-cut bacon cut into 4 pieces, and black coffee made on the stove. This was his breakfast as American boys left to fight the Nazis. It was his breakfast when they came home in celebration, and then again when his son left to fight the communists during the Korean conflict. This is what he ate the day Ross Barnett said, "I love Mississippi," which ended as a riot in Oxford. This is what he ate the day Medgar Evers was shot, then a week later when I was born, then a week later when his neighbor and sometimes pewmate at church, Eudora Welty, wrote about it for The New Yorker. Then, days later, when Reverend Ed King was nearly killed after the Mississippi Methodist Conference voted to break ties with him. He ate this when Ole Miss won the Sugar Bowl. He ate this when Hurricane Camille ravaged Mississippi, and again when 2 Americans landed on the moon. This was his breakfast when Nixon resigned. That's the coffee he had when I was diagnosed with severe learning disability by a fraternity brother of his and mine. He ate those eggs when my brother, named after him, and his brother tried to rob a convenience store because the voices in his head told him to. This is what he ate when I first tasted love, and again when I first tasted death, 3 years later. He ate this when America launched its first reusable space exploration vessel, when the hostages left Iran, and when Reagan was shot. After his first heart attack, an egg substitute in a carton replaced his 1 egg. Fruit, usually stewed prunes, replaced his fried ham. 2 years later, he ate this new breakfast before meeting Toby Trowbridge for cards at the Jackson Country Club. A helicopter brought him to the hospital, or at least his body. My mother asked if I would stay with my grandmother after that. I packed for 3 days. It was closer to 3 months. For breakfast, she'd ask how many eggs I wanted, but the rest was the same as the day I was born, and made for my grandfather. My presence and making breakfast comforted her. A woman's routine can salvage her sanity. At the hospital, they were preparing to relieve pressure on her brain with surgery the next day. Standing at the foot of her bed, she smiled up at me and asked about my trip to Manhattan, what I had seen and what I had eaten. In New York, I ate at a cafe on the first floor of the Empire State Building with the woman who killed King Kong, although it was technically the airplanes. After the surgery, my grandmother never had another conversation. Some mornings, she would say only Jimmy and nothing more. Hardly anyone called my grandfather that. She hardly ever called him anything else. Most of us eat every day, even if we sometimes fast, like John Wesley wrote about. It becomes part of the pattern of our lives. Its regularity and variation define us. My grandfather was a man of unflinching steadfastness, as reflected in his breakfast. I mostly breakfast alone now, although recently I've resumed the ancient practice of texting my lady love. Feist Dog says I have to make the coffee every morning when I wake up. Before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. Send.
A Boyd Campbell is a reader-supported publication. To receive new posts and support my work, consider becoming a free or paid subscriber.